to be the topic of um, games becoming movies. So Nintendo released a screenshot of the first screenshot of the new Zelda movie coming out, and I'm gonna show it on screen now. But besides showing it on screen, it leads to the conversation of what I wanted to talk about with you, and the topic of IPs, intellectual properties, and brands like Call of Duty or Gears of War, for instance, as movies and shows. So, what gaming IPs would you like to see as movies?
I think the first one we would have to start off. I don't know if it's specifically the game I would want to see as a movie, but I would definitely like to see them draw upon the game and turn it into something more. Would be Cal Kestis and Star Wars Jedi series. Right now, when we look at that, it's one of the hottest things in Star Wars gaming in years. We haven't had good Star Wars games in years. And Cal Kestis is already played by an actor. His motion actor is Cameron Montague. I think that's how you say his name. So we already have an actor in the play. All they have to do, there's no casting needed. We have our actor. We just need to make the series. Oh, what's happening, Disney? Let's keep it going. Some other ones that I would really like to see, which we are currently seeing, Fallout.
Hmm.
One of the I think it's when we actually talk about games being turned into live action adaptations, I think that's one we really need to highlight because, in my opinion, that's the one that's been done best when we look at any of the ones that have been done so far. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of potential for gaming IPs to be turned into movies, and even for some movies to be turned into games, the opposite direction. But specifically, gaming brands and titles that I would like to see become movies. It's a long, long list. I want to start with something that's a little bit more niche. It's still a big game, but it's going to be Dead by Daylight. And I think Dead by Daylight does a good job by bringing in movie characters and other like anime characters and things into their game itself. But it would be very good since it's kind of a horror game to bring in and have a horror movie. And it doesn't even have to be a big one. It could be more of like an indie film. I know it's not a big, big title, but that's something I'd like to see personally. Um, and then obviously let's talk about the big, big titles like Call of Duty. And Call of Duty has so much potential. You could have five, six, seven different movies based off Call of Duty. You know, you have Modern Warfare, you have Black Ops, you have Ghost, you have the original Call of Duties. There's so many different spin-offs and ways you can attack having a Call of Duty movie if you're a studio. So I would really love to see that, man. Black Ops specifically. I think they could pull that off. When was Black Ops 2? I think it was 2025. Was there? Yeah, Nuketown
We're
2025.
we're we're past the date of when Black Ops 2 happened.
Mm-hmm. So that'd be cool to see.
I definitely agree with you. My only issue with that, we've seen other studios, other top tier studios, try to make films before. As we've seen, we saw what the Halo show was as of recently. They took off Master Chief's helmet, something not a single fan I think ever asked for, and alienated the fan base of the movie. When we actually talk about that and we see what Call of Duty has done to its fans, do we really think Call of Duty would be any different from what Halo has done?
Yeah, that's a good point. Very good point.
That's my only issue with future gaming IPs as movies. A lot of the ones we have seen so far, they have not been the best best direction. We've seen directors that don't have a clue of any of the lore of what is going on in the actual game. And then when you don't allow the game studios to be included in movie decisions, a lot of things contradict what is happening in the games. As gamers, I feel like most of us either want lore expansion upon the universes of the games that we're talking about, or just a straight on recreation of what the games are for us.
Yeah.
Um, back to what you spoke about earlier with the Dead by Daylight, I really do think that would be a good option. Just imagine a bunch of like the serial killer monsters that we see in Dead by Daylight, just a Hunger Games version of that. Like I know that's not like what Dead by Daylight is, but when we actually talk about something similar that we've seen, like the Winnie the Pooh scary movie, when
Mm-hmm.
we talk about IPs like that, like we've seen through indie developers, I really think Dead by Daylight would be able to shine as something like that, where it just brings a collaboration of a bunch of different IPs together to form something very special, like
Yeah,
it's done in the game itself.
I agree. I think too. You mentioned how Halo kind of messed up by taking off Master Chief's helmet, and it didn't stick to what the Halo fans wanted to see. And I totally get that. I think a movie doesn't have to necessarily follow the exact, I guess, lore and everything of the game itself. I think a good example of that would be Minecraft. Uh, Minecraft, the movie was honestly, I liked it. It was very funny, but it was not serious. And they kind of leaned into the fact that it wasn't serious, and they leaned into the whole Jack Black satire, funny aspect of it. And I ended up really liking the movie because of that. It definitely was not, I guess, Minecraft lore accurate. Um, it was based off of someone in real life finding a glowing stone that transported them into the Minecraft world. That's definitely not what I would consider like lore accurate. There's really no lore at all for Minecraft, so they kind of had to come up with something like that. But I did really like the movie itself. So I think there's ways to go about creating these movies that don't necessarily have to be lore accurate. For a movie like Call of Duty, though, I feel like it would have to be more serious, more um, more accurate to what we've seen. So I can see a movie studio messing that up if they don't have the right game studios involved in this decisions and then the writing process.
Well, like shooting back to what you said about Halo. Even outside of the TV show, they had movies over a decade ago, and one of my biggest things with the movies, when we talk about Halo a decade ago, that was one of the biggest FPS games on the planet a decade ago. Like, let's be realistic here. One of the biggest fan bases ever. The studio gave them C-list actors. It was an hour and a half movie, and it was supposed to be about the actual the actual attack of the Covenant on Earth, like what started the Halo War. But I think because which I don't think was an issue, like you said, like movies going off script from what the games show. And that's kind of what I touched upon earlier, was just lore expansion for anything. Like
Mm-hmm.
something like that is just lore expansion. As long as you're able to expand the lore, you did good, which I think the Minecraft movie really did expand into that a little bit. Like it was like what you said. It was goofy. Everyone knew it was just a goofy play on things. It was meant to be taken not seriously. It wasn't. I don't really feel like Minecraft is as serious of a game as games that are like campaign oriented. But like Call of Duty, for example, if we were to see a Call of Duty movie, I would straight up want to see a Modern Warfare 2 one.
Mm.
Like hands down, I think when we talk about campaigns for Call of Duty, I think everyone can agree. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. I think we would have to see, the invasion of the U.S., Makarov in the airport, General Shepard doing his thing for the finale. I think those would be, even if you strayed off through the films, like throughout the missions, those would just be key points that you would have to include within the films.
Yeah.
And realistically, I really think it just comes down to what I hate saying it comes down to money, because obviously everything comes down to money, but when we see the rights to these games being sold, like Halo, for example, Halo wasn't owned by Microsoft yet at the points the movies were being made back then, so that's why it was made by C studio actors. They just went to the person who gave them the highest buck.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be my only issue that I see with current movies right now. Even like The Last of Us, even though they used a big budget film studio, we're seeing people who are changing the lore just because it's a movie, or not a movie, just because it's a TV show and people
Mm-hmm.
expect, they think people expect things to be different. But they're rewriting the lore of the games, which was one of the deepest things of the games, which doesn't particularly make sense.
Yeah, you're right. You kind of have to
And
balance. Um, you have to balance having like a lore accurate movie while also still, I guess, living up to what the directors and copywriters want for the movie itself. They want to make it more entertaining, XYZ. They want to change stuff. So you got to find that balance between changing, whatever you want to change as a director and as a movie studio, and keeping things lore accurate, like how the game studio would want. I see entirely. I get what you're talking about too. I would like the Modern Warfare 2 movie. I can see that. Me personally, I would love the Black Ops 1 movie. I think sending us back to like the Cold War Soviet times with Alex Mason would be very fun and
Yeah,
a cool plot. I think
that would be awesome.
I think on top of that too, we're thinking about just campaigns for Call of Duty, but what about a Call of Duty Zombies movie? I mean,
Actually,
there's so many cool settings and
I
things
don't
you could do for that.
I don't know, bro. I actually don't know with that because one of my big things right now with Call of Duty is that they've strayed so far away from what the zombies lore was to begin with.
I feel
So
you.
I do think they would be able to make a good movie with the current lore they have started. But
Mm,
even like you said, the current lore right now, it's kind of what you were hitting upon. Like they could do something that's completely different from anything that Call of Duty is, and it makes sense because they're leaning into like multi-diverse dimensions right
yeah.
now. Uh, we could see like alternate storylines, which we were talking about. I believe we talked about Gears of War earlier. When a Gears of War movie is in the works right now, and that's one of the things that they've headlined. It's going to be alternate universe Gears of War. It's
Mm,
not going to be the Gears of War we've always expected, which I think that's one of the things that movies need to come out and say, like specifically at the start. Like the movie's not even complete yet, but just knowing the direction they're going for the movie, just not to have expectations for something else.
yeah. I can see that, and that makes sense. I like what you mentioned with zombies, how they've kind of like when if they were to make a movie, they've kind of strayed away from what it was in the past. But just thinking about like nostalgia wise, what they could do with a Call of Duty Zombies movie would be insane.
Dude, the 5 map,
The 5 map, I'd
Penta-
love that.
Pentagon zombies.
Yep. I'm thinking my first thought was Black Ops 3 Shadows of Evil. I love that map. Take you back to like what year was that? Like the old school. Um Zombies I think would be interesting. You could even do like Black Ops 2 Buried, old western. There's a
or
lot of
Kino in the
Kino.
jungle.
Yep. There's a lot of potential here. Fuck, what's that one map? That's like Guantanamo Bay. I can't recall it.
I wanna say it has something with dead at the end. I wanna say Day of the Dead. I don't think that's what it is.
I'm gonna figure it out. I'm about to look it up right now. What is that map called? I can't recall.
You're talking about the Alcatraz map, right?
Alcatraz. Yes, not Guantanamo Bay. Alcatraz. Yeah.
That's not the name of it. It's something with dead in it.
Yeah. Mob of the
Call of the
Dead.
Dead, maybe. Mob of the Dead.
Mob of the Dead.
Mob of the Dead.
Yeah, with
The
the
original,
gondola.
yes. The original was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
You see, these are great movies. Like Activision, call us because we can come up with some fire movies and really get this going.
Come on, y'all. Y'all heard the man.
Yeah,
Keep
come
cooking.
on, hit our line. We're putting in the hard work right now. We're putting in the brain power right now.
Yeah, also Sacramento, if you need talent scouts, we got y'all. I know y'all aren't doing too good.
Yeah. Okay, so is there anything else you want to talk about with gaming IPs and movies?
I think we really hit on everything. Realistically, when we look at what movies and gaming are, they are pop culture and they go hand in hand. It's realistically a surprise that we haven't seen more, and hopefully in the future we will see more gaming IPs become movies. That was always something I wanted to see throughout my childhood, and I'm glad we did get to see a few within this decade so far, but hopefully within the next 5 years they keep on pushing movies and gaming IPs forward. I really think gaming has taken over the world, especially for our generation. When you look at the number of people in their 20s who are gaming, it's a majority of people, or even if you gamed at some point within your lifetime, you have gamed, and it's just so ingrained in the world of technology now. It's
Mm-hmm.
going to be a piece of what we are for the rest of humanity.
I agree. And if you look at the numbers don't lie either. The gaming industry generates more revenue than every other entertainment sector combined. That includes film, TV, and music. Gaming is bigger than all three of those combined. So it is a big industry. It's has a loyal fan base, and people who game tend to game their whole life. People thought it was like a kid thing that where you, as you got older, you stopped gaming, but data is coming out that's showing that is not the case at all. People are gaming up to their 40s, 50s, and we're seeing a bunch of people who are gaming in retirement. You know, they have a lot of free time, and they're finding their love for gaming at an older age. So it's an industry that's only going to continue to grow if you have, you know, especially if you think that AI is going to displace a lot of jobs and it's going to lead to some sort of place where a lot of people don't have jobs and they're just kind of getting paid like a UBI situation. What are they going to do with their time? I think gaming is only going to continue to grow no matter what happens. So it's a very, very good industry, and I would love to see movies continue to be adapted from these gamings. So yeah, that's all I have to say for the High Tide Show, the first episode of the High Tide Show. I appreciate all of y'all for stopping by and watching. If you've watched this far, thank you. You're a real one. Make sure to check us out on Instagram and TikTok and X especially. Our X's are on here. At Resin with an L for Res, and at Dominick B. Diaz for myself. And I hope y'all have a wonderful day. We'll see y'all next Saturday. Peace.